It was a tale of two teams. The Edmonton Oilers were sheer dominant when they wanted to be over the Los Angeles Kings, and the Los Angeles Kings' depth, team structure, up-and-coming young players, and calmness of their veterans carried them through many games and were able to weather some storms of Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers. Mike Smith stayed on the roller coaster we talked about. Sometimes he was hot AF right at the top, and other times he was down below. We learned something about Mike Smith, though, this series. We learned that Mike Smith is better than we gave him credit for, but when the team in front of him doesn't help by playing team defense, Mike Smith ends up in a little bit of trouble. So I think we get to deflect some of his woes down to the team defense of the Edmonton Oilers. We get to say Mike Smith wins his first Game 7 that he's ever played in. Jonathan Quick loses his first Game 7 out of his first 5. So he won his first 4. This is the first one he's lost. Quick is still Jonathan Quick at 36 years old. Mike Smith may be good enough to carry. Connor McDavid is the best player in the playoffs and in the world right now. We said that it was going to be Austin Matthews. We talked about Sidney Crosby, but let's talk about the sheer dominance that is Connor McDavid. Let's talk about the Edmonton Oilers. Let's talk about this series. Let's talk about our prediction. Hey, let's talk. Kopitar is elite. Anderson is their de facto number 1, but I wouldn't call him elite. I'd call him a top pair guy, though, and Jonathan Quick is elite. Unfortunately, no Drew Doughty. RIP. The depth of both teams, I believe Edmonton's still shallow. Go ahead, comment down below, Edmonton. Tell me how I'm wrong, but your team is as shallow as a kiddie pool, in my opinion. Top heavy. You may not like it. You may be bored of the narrative, but it's true. When you take a look at LA, they are just simply average. They are on their way up, though. They're absolutely on their way up. They got a lot of players that are going to develop. I believe this will be considered a deep team in the next year or two. Taking a look at the final summary, I have Edmonton sweeping. Edmonton in 4. This should be an absolute dominant performance by the Edmonton Oilers. They check so many boxes. Their special teams, their scoring, and the hot Mike Smith should roll over the ice-cold LA Kings. So you can see there, I said a few things heading into this series. I said the Edmonton Oilers had that shallow playoff roster. I'm not backing off that. When I see what Connor McDavid did in this series, again, Oilers fans don't have to like it. It's just how I feel about this. When I watch the team, I break down the team, I break down the tape. This is how I feel about it. It's a Connor McDavid show. Leon Draisaitl is a great player. He's in the top 20 of the NHL. I do not have him as number 2. He had a good series in some respects. In other series, he almost cost you it with the way he played defense, and that's the narrative I've had all year in Edmonton, and it has been swings with the comments down below. Some people have Draisaitl as number 2 in the NHL. That's fine. It's always an opinion-based piece when you have that. In my opinion, his defense pulls him outside of the top 10, puts him in the top 20. I made an entire video on it. I don't have any reason to change my mind after seeing this series, but the value contract he is on, one of Peter Chiarelli's best at $8.5 million. This is a player you don't trade, you don't move him. I'm not saying sky is falling, and I'm not saying in certain years he can't be number 2. McDavid is the number 1 player out there right now. He was absolutely dominant. Him and Draisaitl carried, but this really is the McDavid show no matter which way you scratch it. The Edmonton Oilers go the way Connor McDavid goes. When he's playing 24 to 27 minutes a night, you got to realize that's near 50% of the minutes, and this is a forward. The only guys I have seen eating up this type of ice are defensemen, and really the only guys in the playoffs that are going to eat up more ice than this are the elite defensemen. The names like Drew Doughty back in the day, who was eating up 32 minutes, Duncan Keith, who was eating up 32 minutes. We're going to see defensemen eating up 32 to 35 minutes in these playoffs. It's the way it goes. We all remember Darnell Nurse against the Jets. Hey, that one didn't work out, but nobody's here to talk about that. They're here to talk about the now. So, do I have to back off on the fact that the Oilers roster is shallow? No. Can the Edmonton Oilers win the Stanley Cup? Yes. Am I saying the Edmonton Oilers will lose next round? No. Is Connor McDavid good enough to win a cup by himself with this team? Yes. So, take that however you will. However you will. There's multiple ways to win a Stanley Cup. So whatever vision we all have in our brain of this is what I think the Oilers are, or this is what it takes to win the cup, just throw it out. You know why? Because when one team does it one way, everybody copies them and you see it for 2 or 3 or 4 years. And then we switch and we pivot and we're on to the new thing. So the media, me, everybody else, they're going to say Connor McDavid can't win the cup by himself. And then he wins the cup and we're all going to go, we knew it. He was the best player in the world. Of course he could win the cup. You guys are crazy. This guy's dominant. Connor McDavid hasn't won a cup yet. People were hard on Ovi when he didn't win a cup. Then he won a cup and everyone was like, yeah, he's the best. Of course he's clutch. When Connor McDavid does it, everything will change. Will he do it this year? Only time will tell, but what we're going to talk about is the fact that he was purely dominant in the Kings series. And let's be honest, we all watch the games. I've broken down the tape here in this channel. There's no way to handle this guy. So I'm not here to tell the Kings that they could have done anything more against the Connor McDavid show. There's no way to stop this player. And the best example of that is goal 2. So Draisaitl ends up taking the draw here. And I love when Connor McDavid plays on the wing with a guy like Draisaitl. Why do I like it? Because the speed of wingers being able to leave the zone off draws is huge. And I think that's McDavid's wheelhouse. Draws are draws. They're very important. But at the end of the day, why do you want to be involved in a tie-up here if you're Connor McDavid? You don't. You just want to be loose. Win the draw. Let me read the play. Let me get the puck. You got to get the puck on my stick. I'm a goal scorer. I'm a playmaker. I'm the guy that needs the puck on his stick. The LA Kings here have a set draw. We call this a high-low, and McDavid is able to take that puck out of the back of the Kings player. What are you supposed to do with this? This is what I mean. There's nothing you can do about this guy. Everything works out here for the Kings. But look, McDavid isn't even looking at the puck and he's able to knock it this way. This isn't dumb luck, folks. This is a guy with some of the best instincts, hand-eye, and literal eyes in the back of his head. Unstoppable, unplayable, unguardable, undeniable. That puck ends up flipping out perfectly to another stick. Again, not an accident. We've broken down a million Crosby plays like this. When you are this good, when you are McDavid, when you are Crosby, things like this happen. And then you see the speed of McDavid here. Look at that speed. There is nothing you can do as a defenseman. That defenseman gets upended, turned around, has to start skating forwards. That's totally fine. This is an okay gap, but the gap doesn't matter because the gap is only going to be there for half a second before Connor McDavid's gone. You also don't even have to put it on Connor McDavid's stick. Just throw it near him like a wide receiver in the NFL, like a Megatron on ice, and he is going to handle that puck and get going. And you see this here. It is just an area pass. We don't call this a tape-to-tape pass. Area passes are the best. You're just putting it in an area for McDavid to skate out after it. Take a look at the Kings defenseman here. He had absolutely no chance. This is just a desperation play. You can't pick on a Kings defenseman. There isn't a defenseman in the NHL that's going to stop this. This is sheer will meets skill. Unguardable. Mick Jesus. Let me say it again. Unstoppable. He ends up laying in there to Jonathan Quick. Desperation play, gets a cross check on him. You might go, oh, you've stopped him. And this is the best you can hope for, is redirecting McDavid's speed. No other player could have gotten to the net like this. So the fact that the defenseman was able to even turn him around slightly just goes to show how elite McDavid is, that he got around someone that he just shouldn't have got around. Ends up going behind the net. And now look, we're stuck. What are we going to do? We're on the wrong side of the puck. Eventually, McDavid is going to get loose. It's 2 strides. Everybody's tired. Nobody's moving. Nobody knows what to do. McDavid by himself reaches around. We've seen this wrap around a couple times before. I've told you again and again and again on this channel, Quick is an elite goalie and wraparound shouldn't work. And they work when Connor McDavid does it because his speed and his skill is so game breaking. He even scores on chances you shouldn't score on. Statistically, the goalie should have that every time. He almost got another one there. As that puck pops out, like Michael Jordan in the playoffs, Connor McDavid is making his name heard here. He is just dominant. Quick is out. One-man show on that. The only thing that Edmonton did there was lose a draw to LA because LA had drawn that behind them. That's called a 1 draw for LA, but it ends up counting for Edmonton because McDavid's the first to touch the puck. So in all intents and purposes, going all the way back to this zone, right there, that should have been a Kings 1 draw, and Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers turn it around and they go score. And we've talked about this in the series, whether it's McDavid, anyone on the Oilers. This is the transition game. It's been that way for a couple years. You've heard me say it. They score the most amount of goals from their own net because they are able to turn pucks over, transition, and everybody leaves at once. Everyone is programmed to do this on the Oilers. We have the puck on our stick. Go. Send 4. Send 5. These guys are incredible when it comes to the rush down the ice and the swagger they have when McDavid is out there. He makes everybody around them better. He is a force. Nobody is going to handle him. The difference between them winning a series and losing a series is going to be the other 19 players and single goalie on the ice. When McDavid is not out there for 27 minutes, what is going to happen with the rest of the team? They were down 4-1 and McDavid put the team on their back, took them to overtime, was too tired. Kempe ended up beating him and they ended up scoring. If they run Connor McDavid too much, eventually he will break down. He's not a machine and goals can go in. We broke down that Kempe goal in a minute 20. So McDavid got him to overtime, was too tired. Woodcroft ends up putting him out. Kempe exploits and scores. The LA Kings had every opportunity to win in this series. The first goal won this series. That was it. Once you had the lead, you never lost it. There were so many fun facts and statistics. You've all seen them by now. I'm late to this video. I'm not going to break down the million things that Connor McDavid has done now in this series from a record standpoint, but he just keeps notching up records. So Connor McDavid is either going to play the Dallas Stars or the Calgary Flames. It is going to be a very exciting series. If you're an Oilers fan, you got to be thrilled. You got to be jacked up about this. And if you're a Kings fan, you should be, and you will be proud of your team. I have to give the Kings fan the #1 award for fan base right now. Not because you're the biggest, not because you're the loudest. I mean, Edmonton was going nuts in that building, but because you're literally the most reasonable, maybe well thought out comments I have seen ever while running a hockey channel. No matter what happens, if you don't sing and dance to the songs that somebody has in their own brain as a team's fan, because let's be honest, people cheer for teams, myself included, the same way people view religion. It is a euphoric experience, and if you do not get on board, the pitchforks and the torches come out regardless of whether or not you pick the team. The unreasonableness of 10% of people is massive, 90% is great. But when I look at the LA comments, it's like 99% reasonable, 1% weird. So if you're a weirdo down below in the comments, that's wonderful. Go ahead, leave me a comment. If you're a 90%er or a 99%er and you're leaving a thankful, helpful, hey, got a question for you. Maybe I saw this, maybe you didn't. Go ahead, leave that down below before as well too. Give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe to Coach Ryan D, whether you're a Kings fan or an Oilers fan. I'm praying for the Battle of Alberta. I know you're not cheering for Calgary. That's no problem. And if you want to get in touch with Coach Ryan D and support this channel more, we now have a membership page. YouTube's going all in now. They have membership pages. Super thanks down there below. These are all similar things that they had below at Twitch. So if you've been at YouTube for quite some time, they're growing. They're trying to take over the streaming world, the monetization world, the business world in this. We would love it if you help us out. But if not, the same old adage of thumbs up, comments, it helps. It goes super far. Just being here watching it is amazing. So thank you, Oiler Nation. Thank you, Kings fans. But back to the Kings fans here for a second. What is very interesting about Kings fans is I have ragged on your team all year, and I don't do it because I don't like the Kings. I just thought, you know what? Beginning of the year, we were on a roller coaster, weren't we? I said, this isn't a good team. They're not going to make the playoffs. Junk. Proved me wrong. How did they prove me wrong? A great Jonathan Quick, great leadership core between Danault, Kopitar, and Doughty. Guys like Mikey Anderson stepping up. Guys like Iafallo stepping up. This was a really nice team that had a balance between veterans and rookies. And let's call a spade, Kings fans. When Danault signed here, I was like, what? Why? Why are you spending this money? This team's in full rebuild. Boot the veterans out. Start getting it up. But they were good enough to make one good run. They saw it, their GM saw it, their fans saw it, their coach saw it. So really nice signing by Danault. He's a game changer in that sense. You need veterans to balance out the rookies. So anytime your team kicks out all the veterans, that can be a problem. And what I love about Kings fans is win or lose, they're down there saying, I love my team. I love where we're going. I love the direction where we're going. I appreciate your analysis. Look, you use a lot of data in it. You break down a lot of goals. There's a lot of good things going on here. That's what I keep hearing from Kings fans. So like, you guys get a real big thumbs up for me down below. Sometimes this can be stressful. They're like, you chose to be on the internet. Yeah, but I didn't choose some of the comments that come at it. We're just talking hockey. You're talking about Coach Ryan D. So Kings fans, big ups. Oiler Nation, can't wait to see you in the next round. You're either on the board, you're either in the game or you're not in the game. You're either thinking this is Connor McDavid and you don't care because they don't ask you how you win. They just ask you how many. So the Oilers end up going forward. Draisaitl, McDavid, the band of misfits, Darnell Nurse and Mike Smith staying at the top of the roller coaster, staying hot, staying tight. If Smith stays tight at 40 years old and McDavid continues on this warpath, the Edmonton Oilers could be carrying another Stanley Cup.